of Tuscaloosa today that Alabama will be making a change at the quarterback position. And sophomore Tyler Buckner is expected to start over sophomore Jalen Milroe when the 10th ranked Crimson Tide plays South Florida tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. On ABC. And for those of you who don't know, Buckner is a transfer from Notre Dame who played under Alabama offensive coordinator Tommy Rees last season when they were both at Notre Dame. Tommy Rees was the starter for Notre Dame last season before he got hurt, missed the majority of the season. Ended up playing in the Gator Bowl last year, where he threw for 5 touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions in the 45-38 win over South Carolina when he was at Notre Dame. So he's here at Alabama now, and he got some reps in the Tide's first win of the season against Middle Tennessee State, but it was in mop-up duty where he went 3 for 5 with 27 yards. And this change at quarterback is coming after Alabama's 34-24 loss to Texas, where Jalen Milroe threw 2 interceptions during that game. And to those that are inside the Tide camp, those that know what's going on with the Crimson Tide and how Nick Saban likes to run things and how he operates things, this comes as no surprise. And I can't necessarily say that this is the wrong move to make. Jalen Milroe is, like I talked about, he's a phenomenal thrower of the deep ball. He has amazing athleticism, but he struggles with intermediate passes and with his timing in the pocket. And some people would say that this is a move of desperation for the Tide. Some people would say that this is a bigger representation of things that are going on inside the Tide locker room. I wouldn't go that far. I always say if you're going to make a change at quarterback, you got to do it earlier in the season. But when you make the change, you got to stick with it. And you have to be sure about it. You have to commit to it. So you can't. So for Alabama's example, you can't go from Milroe to Buckner back to Milroe. If you're gonna go with Buckner, you have to stick with Buckner. And this is a situation similar that Alabama was in before, back in 2015 when they had a QB battle between Jake Coker and I forget the other quarterback's name, but anyway, for the first 3 games of the season, this quarterback, whose name is slipping my mind, was the starting quarterback. But then after they lost to Ole Miss, they made the change to Jake Coker, and Jake Coker was able to rally that team and ended up leading that team to a national championship that year in a win over Clemson. So Alabama is not new to making changes at quarterback. Obviously, the change that everyone knows about when Tua Tagovailoa came in for Jalen Hurts in the second half in the national championship game against Georgia. But the example I made with Jake Coker during the 2015 season is more akin and more similar to this situation that we have right here. And I don't know. I need to see how the offense as a whole moves for Alabama. But we have to understand that Alabama struggled after the first quarter to establish the run against Texas, and they were playing from behind, so they had to throw the ball more. And so defenses know that, so they're able to drop back in coverage. So Jalen Milroe is kind of at a disadvantage in that case, where defense knows he's going to have to throw the ball because they're behind and they can't establish the run. So they're able to drop back in coverage, and it's hard to make those throws at the quarterback position when defenses know that. And Milroe is kind of in a difficult situation right there, but there's a high standard at Alabama, and there is no room for error in a program like this. But The biggest issue for Alabama is penalties. At this point, they had 9 penalties last week for 180 yards, and it's odd that the past 3 seasons, Alabama has struggled with penalties, and that's not something you typically see under a Nick Saban program. But this has occurred for the past 3 seasons. Sorry, and is there a shift? Should we start should we start thinking about whether Alabama is still one of the top teams in the country in terms of national title contenders? And there's defensive issues that has plagued Alabama, particularly in their secondary, over the past 3 seasons, and things that used to not be issues for Nick Saban ran programs are now starting to become issues, i.e. the secondary, penalties, turnovers. And I'm not sure if that's more so representation of the recruits that are coming in. I mean, they still had a top recruiting class last year. Or is it more so that Nick Saban is not adjusting to how to coach these guys now with a new kind of era of college football? Whatever you call it is what it is. But the fact of the matter is, Alabama's here right now. They're ranked number 10, and they're making a quarterback change. But I do say that if you make this change, you have to stick with it. You can't go back to Milroe. You have to be sure that you're going to stick with Buckner, and Saban knows that. Saban knows that, and Saban knows how important it is to throw the intermediate ball, not just rely on a deep ball. And he believes that Buckner can have more control of the offense and be able to make those intermediate throws in coverage. So, we won't see much in this performance or in this game against South Florida. If anything, we'll end up seeing both quarterbacks just because Alabama will likely be out to a big lead early on in the game, and we really won't see the effects of this change until we get into SEC play when Alabama plays Ole Miss. But because the issue is if they're going to go back to Milroe at quarterback, but they just want to see how Buckner does, then if that's the case, then you just simply start Milroe for this game, but then you allow Buckner to get more reps late in the game, or even in the second quarter. You want to split reps that way, but you still start Milroe. But starting Buckner for this game tells me that they're going to stick with Buckner regardless for the rest of the season. That's what this change tells me. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about this move right here. Is this a good move for Alabama? Does this affect their national title chances? Does it increase or decrease their chances of winning a national championship? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But with our next segment, guys, we're actually going to preview the Alabama-South Florida game because of this breaking news right here. So, guys, be sure to stick around. You're not going to miss it. We'll be right back.